Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day. Don't forget, grab your smartphone and download the Lava Matra app and stay in touch. Guru Mahārāja's message is your advantage. The following is a Caitanya Leela compilation given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Mahārāja on January 5th, 2022 in Sri Mayapur, India.
Langayate Girim Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Shri Caitanya Ishwaram Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from the Shri Kṛṣṇa Caitanya Compilation class, and today's chapter is entitled as Directory about the Activities of Vaiṣṇavas, Part 2.
So, Lord Caitanya is instructing Sanatana Swami what he should write.
So Lord Caitanya is instructing Sanatana Swami what he should write.
This is very interesting.
This is very interesting.
I've seen how Lord Caitanya would empower some of his associates.
We're seeing how Lord Caitanya would empower some of his associates
to create special projects. It's like excavating the holy places of Vrindavan.
Like excavating the holy places of Vrindavan. Writing about Vaishnava activities.
And many other things.
Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, Chapter 24, Text 329. Because you asked me for a synopsis, please hear these few indications. In the beginning, describe how one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master.
The most important thing is to have the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master.
So the most important thing is to have the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master.
And follow his instructions. To liberate yourself. Of course, in ISKCON, we have a lot of responsibility to our temple presidents.
Of course, in ISKCON, we have a lot of responsibility to our temple presidents.
That they are to engage all the people in devotional service. So, not every guru is able to tell their disciples exactly what to do.
Not every guru can tell their disciples exactly what to do.
So, temple president is delegated this authority.
So the temple president is also given the authority. Is delegated the authority.
One still takes the guidance of the spiritual master.
Although the student takes the guidance of the spiritual master,
and this way they progress.
And in this way we progress. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, Chapter 24, Text 330. Guru Lakhon, Shishya Lakhon, Dohar Parikhon, Shebva Bhagavan, Sarva Mantra Vicharan. Your book should describe the characteristics of the bona fide guru and the bona fide disciple. Then, before accepting a spiritual master, one can be assured of the spiritual master's position. Similarly, the spiritual master can also be assured of the disciple's position. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, should be described as the worshipable object, and you should describe the Bija mantra for the worship of Kṛṣṇa, as well as that for Rama, and for other expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In the Padma Purana, the characteristics of the Guru, the bona fide spiritual master, have been described.
Mahabhagavata Sreshto Brahmano Vai Gurur Nirnam Sarvesham Eva Lokanam Asau Pujyo Yatha Hari Mahakula Prachutopi Sarva Yajneshu Dikshita Sahasra Sakhadhyayi Cha Naguru Syada Vaiṣṇava.
The Guru must be situated on the topmost platform of devotional service. There are 3 classes of devotees, and the Guru must be accepted from the topmost class. The first class devotee is the spiritual master for all kinds of people. It is said, Guru Nirnam. The word Nirnam means of all human beings. The Guru is not limited to a particular group. It is stated in the Upadeshamrita of Rupa Goswami that a Guru is a Goswami, a controller of the senses and the mind. Such a Guru can accept disciples from all over the world. Pritivim Sashishyat. This is the test of the Guru. In India, there are many so-called Gurus, and they are limited to a certain district or a province. They do not even travel about India. Yet they declare themselves to be Jagat Guru, the Guru of the whole world. Such cheating gurus should not be accepted. Anyone can see how the bona fide spiritual master accepts disciples from all over the world. The Guru is a qualified Brahmana, therefore he knows Brahman and Para Brahman. He thus devotes his life for the service of Para Brahman. The bona fide spiritual master who accepts disciples from all over the world is also worshipped all over the world because of his qualities. Lokanam aso pujyo yata hari. The people of the world worship him just as they worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All these honors are offered to him because he strictly follows the Brahminical principles and teaches these principles to his disciples. Such a person is called an acharya because he knows the principles of devotional service. He behaves in that way himself, and he teaches his disciples to follow in his footsteps. Thus, he is an acharya or Jagat Guru. Even though a person is born in a Brahminical family and is very expert in performing sacrifices, he cannot be accepted as a Guru if he is not a strict Vaiṣṇava. A Guru is a Brahmana by qualification, and he can turn others into Brahmanas according to the Sastric principles and Brahminical qualifications. Brahmanism is not a question of heredity. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7.11.35, Sri Narada Muni tells Mahārāja Yudhishthira what a Brahmana is. He states that if Brahminical qualifications are observed in Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or even Sudras, one should accept them as Brahmanas. In this regard, Srila Sridhar Swami has commented, Samadhibhir eva brahmanadi vyavaharo mukhya na jati matradityaha yasyeti yadyadi antyatra varnantarepi drishyeta tad varnantaram tenaiva lakshana nimittenaiva varnena vinirdiset natu jati nimittenetyartaha. The most important criterion for deciding whether to deal with someone as a Brahmana or as a member of another Varna is the presence or absence of self-control and similar Brahminical qualities. We should not judge primarily according to superficial characteristics like birth. This is stated in the verse beginning Yasya, Bhagavatam 7.11.35. If the qualities of one Varna are seen in someone born in another, he should be designated according to the Varna of his qualities, not that of his birth. There is a similar statement made by Nilakanta, a commentator on the Mahabharata, Sudropi samadyupeto brahmana eva brahmanopi kamadyupetaha sudra eva. Although one may be born in a Sudra family, if he is endowed with the Brahminical qualities, beginning with sama, control of the mind, he is to be accepted as a Brahmana. Although one may be born in a Brahmana family, if he is endowed with the qualities beginning with kama, lust, he is to be considered a Sudra. No one should present himself as a Brahmana simply on the basis of being born in a Brahminical family. One must be qualified by the Brahminical qualities mentioned in the Shastras, particularly in the Bhagavad Gita 18.42.
Samodamastapassaucham shantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavacham.
Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Unless one is qualified with all these attributes, he cannot be accepted as a Brahmana. It is not a question of simply taking birth in a Brahmana family. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamananda Goswami, although not born in a Brahmana families, are accepted as bona fide spiritual masters because they were Brahmanas by qualification. Personalities like Sri Ganga, Narayana, Kṛṣṇa, and many others who were actually born in Brahmana families accepted Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamananda Goswami as their spiritual masters. The Mahabhagavata is one who decorates his body with tilak and whose name indicates him to be a servant of Kṛṣṇa by the word dasa. He is also initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and is expert in worshipping the deity, chanting mantras correctly, performing sacrifices, offering prayers to the Lord, and performing Sankirtan. He knows how to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how to respect a Vaiṣṇava. When one has attained the topmost position of a Mahabhagavat, he is to be accepted as a guru and worshipped exactly like Hari, the personality of Godhead. Only such a person is eligible to occupy the post of a guru. However, if one is highly qualified but is not a Vaishnava, he cannot be accepted as a guru. One cannot be a Brahmana unless one is a Vaishnava. If one is a Vaishnava, he is already a Brahmana. If a guru is completely qualified as a Vaishnava, he must be accepted as a Brahmana even if he is not born in a Brahmana family. The caste system method of distinguishing a Brahmana by birth is not acceptable when applied to a bona fide spiritual master. A spiritual master is a qualified Brahmana and Acharya. If one is not a qualified Brahmana, he is not expert in studying the Vedic literatures. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno. Every Vaishnava is a spiritual master, and a spiritual master is automatically expert in Brahminical behavior. He also understands the Vedic Shastras. Similarly, a disciple's qualifications must be observed by the spiritual master before he is accepted as a disciple. In our Krishna consciousness movement, the requirement is that one must be prepared to give up the 4 pillars of sinful life illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. In Western countries especially, we first observe whether a potential disciple is prepared to follow the regulated principles. Then he is given the name of a Vaiṣṇava, servant, and initiated to chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra at least 16 rounds daily. In this way, the disciple renders devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master or his representative for at least 6 months to a year. He is then recommended for a second initiation, during which a sacred thread is offered and the disciple is accepted as a bona fide Brahmana. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur introduced the system of giving the sacred thread to a bona fide Vaishnava, and we are following in his footsteps. The qualifications of a bona fide disciple are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.10.6 as follows.
Amanyamatsaro daksho nirmamo grida sauhrita asatvaro tajijñāsur anasuyur amoghava.
The disciple must have the following qualifications. He must give up interest in the material bodily conception. He must give up material lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. He should be interested only in understanding the science of God, and he should be ready to consider all points in this matter. He should no longer think, I am this body, or this thing belongs to me. One must love the spiritual master with unflinching faith, and one must be very steady and fixed. The bona fide disciple should be inquisitive to understand transcendental subject matter. He must not search out faults among good qualities, and he should no longer be interested in material topics. His only interest should be Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As far as the mutual testing of the spiritual master and disciple is concerned, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that a bona fide disciple must be very inquisitive to understand the transcendental subject matter. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.21.
Tasmāt gurum prapadyeta jigñāsu śreya uttamam.
One who is inquisitive to understand the highest goal and benefit of life must approach a bona fide spiritual master and surrender unto him. A serious disciple must be alert when selecting a bona fide spiritual master. He must be sure that the spiritual master can deliver all the transcendental necessities. The spiritual master must observe how inquisitive the disciple is and how eager he is to understand the transcendental subject matter. The spiritual master should study the disciple's inquisitiveness for no less than 6 months or a year. A spiritual master should not be very anxious to accept a disciple because of his material opulences. Sometimes a big businessman or landlord may approach a spiritual master for initiation. Those who are materially interested are called Vishayis, karmis, which indicates that they are very fond of sense gratification. Such Vishayis sometimes approach a famous guru and ask to become a disciple just as a matter of fashion. Sometimes Vishayis pose as disciples of a reputed spiritual master just to cover their activities and advertise themselves as advanced in spiritual knowledge. In other words, they want to attain material success. A spiritual master must be very careful in this regard. Such business is going on all over the world. The spiritual master does not accept a materially opulent disciple just to advertise the fact that he has such a big disciple. He knows that by associating with such a Vishayi disciples, he may fall down. One who accepts a Vishayi disciple is not a bona fide spiritual master. Even if his position may be damaged due to association with an unscrupulous Vishayi. If a so-called spiritual master accepts a disciple for his personal benefit or for material gain, the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple turns into a material affair. and the spiritual master becomes like a Smarta Guru. There are many caste Goswamis who professionally create some disciples who do not care for them or their instructions. Such spiritual masters are satisfied simply to get some material benefits from their disciples. Such a relationship is condemned by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who called such spiritual masters and disciples a society of cheaters and cheated. They are also called Baulas or Prakrita Sahajyas. Their aim is to make the connection between the spiritual master and the disciple into a very cheap thing. They are not serious in wanting to understand spiritual life. The words Sevya Bhagavan in this verse of the Caitanya Charitamrita are important. Bhagavan indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu alone is worshipable. There is no need to worship demigods. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.20.
Kamaistaistehdajnana prapadyante nyadevaka tam tam niyamamastaya prakrityāniyata svaya.
Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto the demigods and follow their particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. It is also stated in the Skanda Purana.
Vasudevam parityajya yonyadevam upasate swamataram parityajya swapajivan hisa.
A person who worships the demigods and gives up Lord Vasudev is like a man who gives up the protection of his mother for the shelter of a witch. It is also stated by Lord Kṛṣṇa in the Bhagavad Gita 9.23.
Yepyanya devata bhakta yajante sraddhayanvita evi mam yevatokteya yajantya viddhi purvakam.
Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. Demigods are also living entities and parts and parcels of Kṛṣṇa. Therefore, in one sense, one worships Kṛṣṇa when one worships the demigods, but not in the proper way. There is a proper method to water a tree. One should water the root, but if one waters the leaves and branches instead, he is simply wasting his time. If one worships the demigods to the exclusion of Lord Vishnu, his rewards will only be material. As confirmed by Lord Kṛṣṇa in the Bhagavad Gita 7.23.
Antavantu palam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedasham devam devo yacho yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi.
Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Demigod worship is meant for unintelligent men because the benefits derived from demigod worship are all material, temporary, and retractable. It is also stated in the Padma Purana. Whoever thinks Lord Vishnu and the demigods are on the same level is to be immediately considered a rogue as far as spiritual understanding is concerned. There are three modes of nature in the material world, but when one is situated spiritually, he is above the material modes, even though he lives in the material world. As Lord Kṛṣṇa states in the Bhagavad Gita 14.26, one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. In material consciousness, however, even one who is situated in the mode of goodness is susceptible to pollution by the modes of passion and ignorance. When the mode of goodness is mixed with the mode of passion, one worships the sun god Vivaswan. When the mode of goodness is mixed with the mode of ignorance, one worships Ganapati or Ganesh. When the mode of passion is mixed with the mode of ignorance, one worships Durga or Kali. the external potency. When one is simply in the mode of ignorance, one becomes a devotee of Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is the predominating deity of the mode of ignorance within this material world. However, when one is completely free from the influence of all the modes of material nature, one becomes a pure Vaiṣṇava on the devotional platform. As Srila Rupa Goswami states in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, one should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. The position of Vishuddha Sattva is the position of uncontaminated goodness. On that platform, one can then understand Aradhyo Bhagavan Rajesha Tanayas Tad Dhama Vrindavanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Nanda Mahārāja, is to be worshipped along with his transcendental abode Vrindavan. The words Sarva Mantra Vicharana in the present verse of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita means considering all different types of mantras. There are different kinds of mantras for different kinds of devotees. There is the mantra known as Dvadasakshara mantra, composed of 12 syllables, and there is the mantra composed of 18 syllables. Similarly, there are the Narasimha mantra, the Rama mantra, the Gopala mantra, and so on. Each and every mantra has its own spiritual significance. The spiritual master has to select a mantra for his disciple according to the disciple's ability to chant different mantras.
This verse is stressing how a disciple should test the spiritual master.
This verse is stressing how one disciple should test its spiritual master.
And a spiritual master should test a disciple.
And a spiritual master should test a disciple.
To see that the disciple is bona fide.
To see that the disciple is bona fide.
In his song, before recommending a devotee for initiation,
in ISKCON, before recommending a devotee for initiation,
he normally has to follow a minimum 1 year very strictly.
He normally has to follow minimum for 1 year very strictly.
Then he receives the recommendation from the president and the guru initiation.
Then he takes the recommendation from the temple president and the guru gives him initiation.
Well, these two things are stressed. The mistake to worship the demigods rather than Vasudeva and Kṛṣṇa.
So these two things are stressed. To worship demigods rather than Kṛṣṇa, Vasudeva.
The demigods are helping Kṛṣṇa manage the material universe.
The demigods are helping Kṛṣṇa manage the material universe.
In one sense, by worshiping the demigods, one is actually worshiping Kṛṣṇa.
In one sense, worshipping the demigods, we are actually worshipping Kṛṣṇa.
But this is the wrong way.
But this is the wrong way.
We should directly worship Kṛṣṇa.
We should directly worship Kṛṣṇa.
That is the correct way.
That is the correct way.
So, the verse, symptoms of bona fide disciple, symptoms of bona fide spiritual master.
So in this verse, symptoms of a bona fide disciple, symptoms of a bona fide spiritual master, they are mentioned.
And one should follow this system.
And one should follow this system. Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 24, text 331. You should discuss the qualifications necessary for receiving a mantra, the perfection of the mantra, the purification of the mantra, initiation, morning duties, remembrance of the Supreme Lord, cleanliness, and washing the mouth and other parts of the body. Purport. The following injunctions is given in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 1.194 regarding mantra adhikari, the qualification for receiving mantra initiation. Tantrikeshu cha mantreshu
Dikshayam yoshitamapi Sattvinam adhikarosti Sudrakhinam cha satyam.
Sudras and women who are caste and chaste and sincerely interested in understanding the absolute truth are qualified to be initiated with the Pancharatrika mantras. This is confirmed by Lord Kṛṣṇa in the Bhagavad Gita 9.32. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter of me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. If one actually wants to serve Kṛṣṇa, it doesn't matter whether one is a Sudra, Vaishya, or even a woman. If one is sincerely eager to chant the Hare Krishna mantra or Diksha mantra, one is qualified to be initiated according to the Pancharatrika process. However, according to Vedic principles, only a Brahmana who is fully engaged in his occupational duties can be initiated. Sudras and women are not admitted to a Vaidika initiation. Unless one is fit according to the estimation of the spiritual master, one cannot accept a mantra from the Pancharatrika Vidhi or the Vaidika Vidhi. When one is fit to accept the mantra, one is initiated by the Pancharatrika Vidhi or the Vaidika Vidhi. In any case, the result is the same. Regarding mantra Siddhyadi Sodhana, the efficiency of the mantra, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives 16 divisions which are confirmed in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, beginning with 1.204. Siddha Sadhya Sudhidhari Kramaj Gyeyo Vichakshanai. There are 1 Siddha, 2 Sadhya, 3 Susiddha, and 4 Adi. These 4 principles can be divided further. 1. Siddha Siddha, 2. Siddha Sadhya, 3. Siddha Susiddha, 4. Siddha Adi, 5. Sadhya Siddha, 6. Sadhya Sadhya, 7. Sadhya Susiddha, 8. Sadhya Adi, 9. Susiddha Siddha, 10. Susiddha Sadhya, 11. Susiddha Susiddha, 12. Susiddha Adi, 13. Adi Siddha, 14. Adi Sadhya, 15. Adi Susiddha, and 16. Adi Adi. Those who are initiated with the 18-syllable mantra do not need to consider the above-mentioned 16 divisions. As enjoined in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 1.215 to 19 to 20, there is sodhana or purification of the mantra, but there is no such consideration for the Kṛṣṇa mantra. Balitvat Kṛṣṇa mantranam samskarapekshanam nahi. The Kṛṣṇa mantra is so strong that there is no question of sodhana. Hari Bhakti Vilas 1.235. As far as Diksha is concerned, one should consult Madhya Lila 15.108. On the whole, when a person is initiated according to the Pancharatrika Vidhi, he has already attained the position of a Brahmana. This is enjoined in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 2.12. As bell metal can be turned into gold when treated with mercury, a disciple initiated by a bona fide guru immediately attains the position of a Brahmana. As far as the time of Diksha initiation is concerned, everything depends on the position of the guru. As soon as a bona fide guru is received by chance or by a program, one should immediately take the opportunity to receive initiation. In the book called Tattva Sagara, it is stated, If by chance one gets a Sadguru, it doesn't matter whether one is in the temple or the forest. If the Sadguru, the bona fide spiritual master, agrees, one can be initiated immediately without waiting for a suitable time or place. Concerning Pratha Smriti, remembrance of the Lord in the morning, in the early morning hours known as Brahma Muhurta, one should get up and immediately chant the Hare Krishna mantra, or at least Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. In this way, one should remember Krishna. Some slokas or prayers should also be chanted. By chanting, one immediately becomes auspicious and transcendental to the infection of material qualities. Actually, one has to chant and remember Lord Krishna 24 hours daily, or as much as possible. Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. He should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Sastras should be the servants of these two principles. This is a quotation from the Padma Purana, from the portion called Brihat Sahasra Nama Stotra. The word Prata Kritya in the present verse of the Caitanya Charitamrita means that one should evacuate regularly in the morning and then cleanse himself by taking a bath. One has to gargle, achman, and brush his teeth, danta dhavana. He should do this either with twigs or a toothbrush, whatever is available. This will purify the mouth. Then one should take his bath. Actually, householders and vanaprasthas should bathe 2 times a day. Prata madhyahanayo snanam vanaprastha grihastayo. A sannyasi should bathe 3 times daily, and a brahmachari may take only 1 bath a day. Whenever one is not able to bathe in water, he can bathe by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. One also has to perform his Sandhyadi Vandana. That is, one has to chant his Gayatri mantra 3 times daily, morning, noon, and evening.
So it's all about discussing the different activities of a disciple.
Here, Srila Prabhupada is discussing the different activities of a disciple.
How they should perform their morning duties.
How they should perform their morning duties.
How they should clean their mouth.
How they should clean their mouth.
And take a bath.
Take a bath.
And then how many times a day they should take a bath.
How many times a day they should take their bath.
All these things are presented here.
All these things are presented here.
So, like this, someone can achieve highest destination if they take shelter of bona fide spiritual master.
So, like this, someone can achieve the highest destination if they take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Thus ends the part 2 of this chapter today, and we will continue tomorrow.
Do you like our ad-free videos? Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day, and don't forget to like and share our channel.